it is during this time of Advent that we have been invited, that we are saying yes to this journey to our own inner Bethlehem, our own inner space where we can open and allow the Christ to be born in greater ways within us. As we recall this story and the significance of Jesus' birth, we're also called to embody the story as a reflection, as a guide to our own opportunity to give greater light throughout our entire being, to awaken our own divinity. From a spiritual perspective, nothing in the Bible is mere historical, nor is it mere fictional. If we think about the Bible as a spiritual book telling a spiritual story, then the real meaning is all about our spiritual life. In other words, the Bible's true meaning is about what happens in our own hearts and minds. It is about the relationships with one another. It is about our relationship with God. It's important as we look at this journey to embody what these characters embodied, because they are the guideposts. They are the demonstration of what's possible when we do. And so we started with faith, the faith that was the driving force for Elizabeth and for Mary and Joseph to even say yes to this, what seemed like a miraculous and perhaps even impossible task, to give birth, to be the ones who supported and ushered in this new way of understanding and embracing the God of our being. When we fully believe that we can achieve all of our heart's desires, then everything becomes possible. And so we have to start with that faith and believing that there is this Christ child within us, seeking to be born in new ways, is the first steps on this journey to Bethlehem. Last week, we explored how our intuition can be our most trusted roadmap when we step into this new path. The star in the story represents divine ideas, and the wise men our ability to take hold of those ideas, to embody them, and to follow them where they guide us. You know, the latest science has discovered that we do have this, what some would call sixth sense, called intuition. And that's what this part of the journey represents. It wasn't that somebody had written this down or designed the map beforehand. These players, as part of this story, were willing to listen to something different, to a guidance that perhaps they had not been familiar with before, and yet they trusted it and they walked this journey because of it. We have different types of intuition that we can tap into. As I explored last week, there's this implicit knowledge. It's the knowledge that is stored in our subconscious mind, which is the largest part of our brain activity. The conscious part is quite small compared to all that's stored in our subconscious mind. And this implicit faculty allows us to access it, all of that, and get ideas around what's going to be the best next step in a much faster way than our logic and our reason can bring us to that same conclusion. There's also this guidance that we can receive through what they call energetic intuition. Remember this when I talked about it. This is that intuition that comes through bodily sensations. When the hairs on the back of our neck stand up, we should be paying attention. It's there to tell us when our blood starts to flow faster and our heart beats faster, we should pay attention because there's a message in there for us. And then there is also what scientists call the non-local type of intuition that can sometimes seem magical or mystical, and yet it is a part of the way that we are supported, and it comes in a sense of knowing. How many of you have ever had a sense of knowing? You just knew it. You don't know why you know it, but you know it. And so all of these aspects of our intuition can bring us to places where logic and reason wouldn't often allow us to go. As we cultivate, as we trust this sixth sense, it becomes an integral part of this spiritual journey. It becomes another way in which we can awaken to our divine nature that our humanness doesn't always see as possible. And it doesn't happen naturally. For most of us, this is not what's been valued in our life. I was sharing that logic and reason were what I was taught to be the most valuable tools in navigating my way through the world. And so we have to develop it. We have to allow it to be part of it, because Herod, who represents our egocentric ego, the one who's just focused on the ego, and the ego can be there to serve, and it can be there to also trip us up along the way of this spiritual journey. So this intuition lets us override what often the messages we get from our ego, which are really only concerned about keeping us safe, keeping us protected, keeping us in our comfort zone. Intuition almost always will ask us to step out of that place where we have had the experience of being into someplace unknown. Today, we arrive at the point of this inner journey, which is truly the core of it, and that is love. Love, metaphysically represented by the birth of Jesus. We don't know if this birth of Jesus was the first time then we could also tap in to our own God love, but it's certainly the first time that the people who were walking the earth at that time could know with greater certainty that God is love. They might have said it, they might have thought it, but all the writings, if you look at the Old Testament, would describe God as a superhuman parent that's sometimes happy with us, sometimes unhappy with us, wants us to obey. Jesus' message, the birth of Jesus, brought a whole new understanding of God, that God is here and is always that expression of unconditional love. All the rest of it, we created. We as human beings put those challenges and roadblocks and pain into our own life and world. Up until this point, the Jewish people had been awaiting for centuries this Messiah, this king who would come and right the world. You would expect that king, as those wise men expected, to be born at the center of religious power at the Jerusalem temple, or at the very least, that he would be born in the nicest room in the inn in Bethlehem, the center of activity. And yet, we're told in the story of Luke that Jesus was born as Mary went into labor, and there was no room at the inn. They found themselves in a stable. And as he was born, they wrapped him and laid him in a manger. Probably one of the most humblest places that anybody, king or no king, could be born. So the question today is, how is God born in us? How does this baby infant energy seek to express through us? Is it through the inn, the finest room at the inn, where there's so much activity and noise and commotion going on? Or is it in that place that's quiet, that's away from the crowds, that's peaceful, like where they found themselves in this stable, where there's room, where there's spaciousness in order for it to move through us. The manger reminds us that we will not give birth fully to our true nature through greater wealth, power, control, all those things that the Herod part of us would say would be necessary to find that sense of peace and to really be able to master all that we have come here to be. It happens in the quietness of our own being. It happens when we are humble enough to make space for it in our own lives. So as we move into a time of meditation, this is our opportunity to allow this time of quiet, this time and space that we can feel a sense of safety and openness, to open our minds and hearts and welcome this birth of Christ in a new way into our lives. As we've done this month, you can keep your eyes open and just meditate on the picture here and see how that ruminates in your mind and heart, or you can close your eyes gently and allow all of your attention to move inward into the center of your own being. As you breathe in and gently let that breath go, just allow your own heart to soften and to humbly realize I'm not sure what music we got going on here, but we'll let it just play for a moment. We'll move with spirit the way it moves with us. So just let these words become your words. And see and believe that in this very moment, you are giving birth to greater life, greater light, and greater love. And as you begin to bring your attention back to this time and space, make a commitment to, as often as possible, return to this inner sanctuary, this humble, quiet, peaceful place that makes room for God's love to move and live and breathe and have its life and its light shine through you. As you take another deep breath and are aware once again of your body and the sounds in the room, I just invite you to open your eyes whenever you are ready. One of the things I've learned is that you have to just go with whatever spirit brings up. I'm not really sure where that song came from, but obviously, Spirit wanted you to hear a little bit of Silent Night as part of your meditation. You know, Unity minister and author Eric Butterworth suggests that Christmas symbolizes the rebirth of light into the world, an awakening of people to the dynamic potential of not just the Christ of long ago, to the Christ alive in each of us today. He points out that this happens during the time of winter solstice, the point where the sun is farthest away from the earth and there is more darkness at this window of the year than any other time. And it is in that time of great darkness, in the midst of whatever troubles or sadness or challenges that we might be facing, a time where there seems to be so much commotion and even sometimes confusion happening in our world, is the very opportunity for us to humbly open our own consciousness and add to the light that the world is shining in much greater ways. The light is the power of love. Whenever you see light, you see it all day long. I want you to think, this light is the very power of love. He suggests that there's no light out there in the universe, that the world naturally is dark, and the light comes as is expressed through humankind, as is expressed through love, as is expressed through the angels and the guides of eons of time, reminding us of the light that's within us. The Bible says that the spirit of the person is the candle of the Lord. The spirit of the person is the very candle of God. You are the candle of the Lord. You, I, all of humanity, if we will open and allow it, are the radiant expression of light as love. And so the call, not only during this holy season, but throughout the year, is to let your light shine. And your invitation this week as you journey towards your inner Bethlehem is to take moments and just get still. It's hard to do sometimes with all of the hustle and bustle and activities and parties that are going on. Take time, if you can even every day, to sort of put away all the noise, the jingle bells, the music, as wonderful as it is, the parties and the connections. Just for a moment, leave it all outside of yourself and center your intention on that little spark of light within. See it as a radiant blurring of light growing and a blessing of light that you give to the world. You give to your home. You give to your relationships. You give to the world that is in such desperate need for it. Just be an instrument of light for a while. Then you can go back to your Christmas activities, and when you do, you return with greater meaning, with a greater ability to bless those activities for good. And you'll remember that your journey isn't over when Christmas Day is over. God's love and light is not just something that's gifted to you, that you receive. It is something for you to give. The birth of the Christ is our ability to give unconditional love to everyone. That's the demonstration of Jesus, both the exalted and the lowliest of all people, of all creatures, of all of nature. The true Christmas experience is the blessing of love that you give to one person when you see them as God sees them, a radiant child of the Most High. That's the greatest gift, that you can see them even when they can't see it in themselves quite yet. And so I want to close with this beautiful prayer by Tasha Silver. It comes from her book, Change Me Prayers. I use it all the time, and I love the way that she and her words can move within me a different energy and spirit. And her prayer is this: as we seek to birth, to be that doula for our own Christ presence, divine beloved, change me into one who every day remembers who I truly am, a living, breathing conduit for love. May I wake up to who I actually am. May I wake up and see life as it truly is in all that I encounter. May I be carried by divine grace in every moment. May I know my true nature as love itself, and so it is. Well, it is our opportunity now to share with our financial good with this ministry. It is through your generous gifts for the way that you consistently support us that allows us to do all that is ours to do, that we continue to have beautiful services as well as all of the other activities that go on. You know, this is a very generous community. All you have to do is look in that hallway out there of all the things that we're collecting for Church on the Slab and for Grace and coats and all the food that has already gone to the Grace Food Pantry to know that this is a community that has big hearts and loves to give and make a difference in the world. And we are just so grateful for the ways in which that continues to grow and expand in our love, in our hearts, and in the way that we impact not only what we can offer here, but what we can gift to the larger community around us. And we are grateful for those who give online too. If you want to share today, you can go to centerofunity.org and go to the give page. In just a moment, the ushers are going to invite you to come up row by row so that we can feel and experience ourselves in that flow of giving and receiving. Can drop your gift in the large basket, or if you give through our committed giving program or it's not your Sunday to share, you can just add your energy to it or take one of the committed giving cards and add that to the basket. And then we also invite you to receive an affirmation to bless you this week. Let us take all that we share today into our hands and into our hearts and bless it together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, Father, Mother God. So go shine your light, share your love in the world as we go, knowing our prayer for protection together. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. And the presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Yay!